The leaves beneath the maple trees have turned from green to red, and yet the leaves beneath your feet seem like they're far from dead. Inspired by your steady march, they rise up off the ground and do a swirling waltz about you, dancing all around. The leaves that fill the forest floor all part like the Red Sea. You wander into a clearing that beckons cheerfully. Rest here a while. Come sit with us, the trees sing as they sway. We welcome all travelers to enjoy the games in the Glade. This is a stress-free gaming news and reviews podcast. I'm your host, Tina Kelly, and I'll guide you through some recent news in the gaming world, and then give my review of a game I think you'll enjoy. Today I'll be discussing God of War, Haunted Chocolatier, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Chicory, A Colorful Tale. Let's start off with some news. God of War 2018 was announced to be released on PC on January 14th, 2022. God of War 2018 was developed by Santa Monica Studios and sold approximately 19.5 million copies and was nominated for and won plenty of Game of the Year awards globally. It tells the tale of a father and son trying to drop mom off in the mountains while finding themselves and each other along the way. Alright, prepare yourself for some gamer numbers. Coming to the PC edition of the game will be improved frame rate and 4K resolution. It'll have full integration with NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling on RTX, as well as NVIDIA Reflex low latency technology to better help you appreciate the wide sweeping shots of the Nordic worlds. The PC version now has panoramic widescreen support, 21:9 ultra widescreen support, and players have keyboard mapping customization and controller support, so you can play it your way. Lastly, a slew of digital content is available, including armor sets for Kratos and Atreus, and a bunch of shield skins. Fans of the series can now experience the franchise's pivot point with beautiful graphics, all from the comfort of their personal computers. Next up, Concerned Ape, who developed Stardew Valley, the farming sim RPG, he announced that he's working on a new game called Haunted Chocolatier. While visually similar to Stardew, Concerned Ape's new project will not be an expansion to his previous game, but a new endeavor about a person who works in an old chocolate factory. Haunted Chocolatier's trailer shows the protagonist, whose appearance it seems the player can customize, leaping into a picture frame Mario 64 style to enter a magical fantasy world brimming with monsters. Defeating those monsters yields resources needed for making chocolate once you take the resources back to the factory, and it seems that you can also collect furniture and other items to decorate and upgrade your surroundings. The world of the chocolate factory is populated by people, much like in the village in Stardew Valley, but now ghosts make an appearance in the chocolate factory. These ghosts appear to work for you selling your chocolate, but also seem to be customers in the factory's storefront, browsing candies alongside of human shoppers. Just as in Stardew, character interaction appears to be a feature in Haunted Chocolatier, with the protagonist shown accepting a person's invitation to their home and visiting another character at the blacksmith's forge. You can also give characters gifts in order to grow your bond with them. There are at least two implied settings in the game, the town and the big city, both of which are blanketed in serene snow. Just the cozy setting that would warm right up with a little hot chocolate and kind conversation with a friend. No release date has been announced for the game, but I hope that Concerned Ape takes his time with the project. I highly recommend watching the announcement trailer for Haunted Chocolatier yourself to get a full impression of the game and find all the precious details tucked into each corner. You can find the trailer on Concerned Ape's YouTube channel or follow the link in this episode's description. Lastly, in the way of news, here's a beefy news story for you. Animal Crossing New Horizons' last free update was announced alongside of an update for the first paid DLC content pack. Both the free and paid content released November 5th, so many players who have set aside the game for a few days, or weeks, or since last July, are returning to their islands to spruce things up before the new content arrives. Brewster's Roost is coming to the museum, complete with a stoic pigeon bartender. Brewster himself is serving up cups of hot joe to patrons of the museum. Enjoy your coffee piping hot to get the fullest effect of the flavor, and, if you're lucky, Brewster might add a little pigeon milk to your cup if he's taken a shine to you. What's pigeon milk? Well, I'm hoping that it's milk that pigeons like and not milk that pigeons produce, but I'm not sure if there's an official Nintendo press release on that. You can also visit the roost with friends or stop by solo and catch an islander at the bar enjoying their favorite brew. What's more, you can use the amiibo feature to summon whatever little critter you'd like, provided you have their card, to share a cup with you. Familiar faces will be returning to Animal Crossing in the free update, like Captain, the seafaring, shanty-singing boatsman. Players that hitch a ride with Captain will be taken to an island that offers new and interesting plant life, or is set in a different time of day or season. More returning friends can be found on Harv's Island, which used to be just a photo shoot locale, if I'm not mistaken, but will now be expanded into a caravan of services featuring Harriet, the haircutter poodle, Katrina, the fortune teller, former Mayor Tortimer helping out with item storage, and finally Reese and Cyrus, the newly wedded llamas who are reprising their roles as item customizers. Kix the Shoe Skunk and Reds the Deal Warlock also appear on the island, meaning that the rotating merchants might be easier to get at with this new update. Speaking of familiar things, gyroids are making their return with a little twist. These creepy but cute little hollow-eyed gizmos are now shattered remains buried underground. But with a little watering, they'll reform into the cute little tootin' dudes that you know and love. Though in New Horizons, they appear to be smaller, so you can put them on surfaces instead of just the floor, as well as customizable, so you can make them fit your aesthetic. There are a few new activities to engage in on your island, like group stretching in the plaza, which can be done on the gamepad, or you can join in the fun with motion controls using the Joy-Cons. What really caught my eye, though, is the added farming capabilities. Joining pumpkins from last year, new crops like wheat, tomatoes, potatoes, sugarcane, and carrots can be grown and harvested. On top of that, ingredients can be combined to cook food with new DIY recipes that you can gobble up or leave on the table for decoration. I'm eager to learn whether cooked food spoils or if it can sit out forever. We'll just have to see. One more returning feature is house visits. Your little dudes can invite you to their home or stop by yours to pay you a visit. This small interaction will bring a lot of life to the game, I think. Some have found this visit feature to be a bit of a hassle in previous iterations of Animal Crossing, but there's something charming about a meek sheep showing off his cool workbench to you, or a cat bragging about her cool trash can fire in her back alley-inspired home. There's also a few quality of life upgrades added to the free update. Ordinances have returned from New Leaf to New Horizons, letting you modify things like the rate at which weeds grow, or when your little critters wake up and go to bed. The storage maximum has also been set to 5,000. Additionally, new camera features have been added so you can practically explore your town first person, or you can get into the frame and pose with your pals with a tripod feature. Your little villager has more hair options and expressions too, and don't think I didn't notice you adding some Fire Emblem hairstyles, Nintendo. I saw Ignatz and Casper von Three Houses in there. There is a lot in the way of upgrades when it comes to working on your island, too. There are new exteriors and fencing options available, so your island can really mesh with whatever vibe you're going for, even if that vibe includes corrugated iron fencing. You can add a few more bridges and inclines to your island, too, to really get things connected. And with the Pro Decorating license, you can hang stuff from the ceiling and add accent walls to your home. Even little changes like these really transform the look and feel of an interior. Oh, and of course, they added in Froggy Chair, the fan favorite furniture item. It also seems to be customizable, so now we can all chill. Now, the DLC pack can be purchased on its own for $24.99 or bought in a bundle with the Nintendo Online Service Deluxe Pack, which includes N64 games and Sega Genesis games. Solo accounts can nab it for $49.99 per year, and family accounts can share it for $79.99. The paid DLC features some really buck-wild stuff, primarily the Paradise Planning Agency straight out of the solo Animal Crossing New Leaf spinoff, Happy Home Designer. Happy Home's own Lottie the Otter returns with her new friends Nico, the adorable Ai or monkey or something, and Wardell the Manatee, and they offer you a job as a vacation home designer at the agency. In the expansion, you can create partition walls, adjust room sizes, create counters of differing heights, throw in some support pillars, adjust the lighting's color and brightness, give a room a soundscape for an immersive atmosphere, and even polish up furniture to add effects to it like sparkles. For your labor, you're paid in company script. I mean Pokey, which you can use at the company store to buy rare furniture and goods. And don't worry, everything you learn building vacation homes can be applied back home on your own island, in your home, and in your villagers' homes. Nintendo provided some clarification about access to the paid DLC and its features in a recent press release, stating that when the players cancel their expansion pack subscription, they'll no longer have access to the Happy Home Paradise Archipelago, but they'll keep access to furniture items they've unlocked, as well as design features and abilities. Thanks to Nicole Carpenter at Polygon for that information via the article Everything We Know About Animal Crossing New Horizons' Free and Paid Updates. Lastly, a few new villagers were shown in the recent Animal Crossing Direct, but Nintendo has yet to clarify whether they can randomly move into your island, or if they can only be obtained through amiibo cards, which have also been slated to be released on November 5th alongside the DLC. If you'd like to watch the Animal Crossing Direct yourself, I highly encourage it. You can find it on Nintendo's official YouTube page. I'll also link the video in the description. Though there's so much more news to talk about, I'd like to take some time to talk about a game I've beaten recently called Chicory: A Colorful Tale. Chicory, as I'll be referring to it from now on, was developed by Greg Lobanoff, Alexis Dean Jones, Lena Rain, M. Halberstadt, Preston Wright, and Madeline Berger. The game was published by Finji June 10th, 2021, and is available on Steam, PS4, and PS5. In Chicory, you, the player, are a little dog who acts as the janitor of the current wielder of the brush, the artist who brings color to the world through their very own unique style. The wielder of this era is Chicory, a rabbit who, from the very beginning, knew she would be the wielder and worked towards becoming it. But Chicory is reclusive, seldom leaving her room, and catastrophe forces the brush into new hands. Yours. All the color leaves the world, and it's up to you, humble doggy, to fill in the blank spaces on your journey towards understanding the world, art, relationships, the past, and yourself. Along the way, you meet a host of interesting folks, including past wielders, like the prickly but well-meaning Blackberry, or the warm, retired Cardamom. You get to spend time with your family, and they encourage you in their own unique ways to take heart and believe in yourself. Chicory explores a variety of themes, but the two that resonated most with me were art and relationships. As for art, Chicory raises plenty of questions. Who makes art? Who's it for? What does it do? How does it or how should it make you feel? And these questions never have a straight answer. Art's for everyone. But sometimes art is personal. Art is for you and you alone. Anybody can make art, but sometimes it takes a certain someone to make a certain piece, because not everybody is the same style. Not everyone is a Picasso, but if we all were, would we need Picasso? And as for how it makes you feel, you should feel joyous. But sometimes art is deeply sad, or angry, or even void of any emotion. But none of that is wrong or bad. It's all expression. Art isn't the end-all and be-all of the game, however. Art is a vehicle for communication, and communication and our feelings, I think, is the core of Chicory. It's a comforting game, no doubt. When I filled out the map or completed a puzzle or beat a boss, I got a sense of satisfaction. But Chicory goes beyond the surface-level coloring book to tackle weighty subjects like imposter syndrome, depression, strained friendships, and mistakes and regrets. It never, however, makes anything feel impossible to overcome. There's always a buoyancy to it. One character might be down and uncertain, but there's always another voice to challenge the doubt, to ground the character in the real instead of the perceived, to remind them that everyone makes mistakes and that a path forward can be forged. Chicory balances comfort and depth effortlessly, offering surprising moments of catharsis. Let's talk about gameplay for a bit before we get back to the themes, because I feel that through the gameplay, the game's themes manifest. Chicory combines puzzle solving and platforming, challenging players to think of new ways to use the same tool, their paintbrush, to reach their goals. You can use paint to make things move and grow, shrink and stand still. If there's a ledge, for instance, with a little curly plant below it, if you daub that plant with color, it will unceremoniously splurt the paint back at you, rocketing you up onto the ledge. Combine that with other interactive elements like spraying mushrooms, floating paint clouds, and paint vine pipelines, and also later abilities like platform hopping and paint diving. You get a myriad of ways to navigate maps using a little bit of paint and a little bit of brain power. If I couldn't figure out a puzzle, the best solution usually was to step away for a bit and come back, and then the solution seemed obvious. This might be a good time to mention too that if you ever get stuck or don't know where to go or what to do in Chicory, you can head to a phone booth in the game and call your parents. Your mom will offer vague explanations of what she might do in that situation, and then give you the option to speak to your dad, who is just itching to tell you the exact solution, including how many maps you must move directionally to get to your destination, and how to clear the obstacles in your way. It's a really lovely system that I used a few times when I either forgot what I was doing or got really frustrated in an area. As for the combat, Chicory has unique combat elements. Thrill seekers will enjoy the quick-paced boss battles, which range from a standard floating eye encounter to psychologically searing confrontations against unexpected opponents. Each battle submerges your character in darkness, where they confront a foe as hazards open up in the field of action. The fights, to me, were reminiscent of a particular, let's say, megalomaniacal Undertale boss. You gotta think quick, don't get hit, and take them out. Now, there's tons of side quests and optional tasks in the game that really fill out the experience, kind of like the Master Studies program at the Art Academy in Potluck, your hometown. The art instructor there gives you a reference to work from, a previous wielder's masterpiece which has lost its color, and you put your own color and style into it. At first, I thought of the work that I was doing as simply shoddy recreations of great art, but when I revisited my paintings, which you can do in the art gallery in Elevenses, I saw what a wonderful collection of style exploration and progress I had accumulated. Each master study pushed me in new directions, making me think about lines, color, depth, shadow, and expression in a new way. You know, kind of like real art. But it's safe and approachable, and you get thoughtful sounding generated critique about your art. Now let me take a little bit of time here to ease any worries that some might have for this game. This all sounds wonderful, Tina, but can I play Chicory? What accessibility options does it have? Well, Chicory has a few functions that might help out, starting off with an eye strain helper for anyone who doesn't want to look at a bright black and white screen, which I assume is most people. For my friends out there who are photosensitive, you can turn off flashing effects and screen shaking. The game offers keyboard and controller configurations, so you can remap things to your own comfort, and you can also set button holds to toggles instead if holding buttons is challenging for you. Folks with misophonia might also be pleased to learn that you can turn off the wet splorching sounds of the paintbrush so it doesn't like goosh around so much. Another fantastic option includes the ability to alter the amount of hits it takes to knock down your character, or change the speed at which you have to react to game elements in 25% increments. And if depression is something you'd rather not engage with in a game, there is an option to enable content warnings for sensitive content like that. Also, if you would rather just explore the world instead of engaging in combat, you can skip boss fights with the pause button if you enable that setting. Personally, for the accessibility stuff, I enabled the untouchable difficulty myself because I found it to be just as enjoyable with less stress than worrying about dying as I was fighting the same boss again and again. The boss fights were still very interesting without the fear of dying and having to redo them. I also started the game without the eye strain filter, and for every subsequent session I had it on because it makes a huge difference. Now, speaking of eye stuff, let's talk about the visuals of the game, which is, I think, probably the easiest thing to grasp about Chicory right off the bat. It's like a coloring book brought to life, not just by your coloring in it, but through the dynamic interactions with the world and the characters. Coloring a map segment will invite characters you know to visit it and comment upon your color choice and technique. Placing items in the area invites characters to interact with them. Putting a chair down, for example, brings in unique NPCs, like a turtle who likes to have a seat now and then, who befriends you. Each realm, like Luncheon, or Levins's, has a color palette to work with. Luncheon's palette is a playful mix of aquamarine, pink, spring green, and dusty blue. It's where the Wielder Tower is, where the game begins, and where you're introduced to the main mechanics of the game. The bright palette is instantly disarming. It really says to me, don't take this too seriously just yet, let Leeson have fun. When the squirrel in the village asks you to paint his house butch colors and all you have is pastel, you do your best, and he loves it. Levins's, though, has a different feel that the color palette brings to life, working with rust red, faded green, and stony teal, mellow yellow. My Levins's felt like a cozy autumn village in the mountains, a charming, isolated town. I think this aspect of the game is what makes it so enjoyable and magical. It sounds silly, but there's something satisfying about filling out the missing piece of the puzzle. My piece, my contribution, my color. For example, I made my sister a golden brown retriever with an oversized pink hoodie. And it made our lunch together in the little pizza shop in the big city more real. It made our conversation about working hard and the weight of responsibilities more concrete. And after she helped me accept that sometimes I have to say no to people, and that if I can't say no, I can still ask for help, it made our hug that much sweeter against the blue linoleum, my choice, of the pizza shop's floor. The game will play out the same with limited color, but I feel like it's a richer experience to fill it out. I'd say about midway through the game, although I found it much later, you can find a brush that allows you to create and use your own expanded palette, and at first I thought I'd go back and redo everything. I stocked my palette with browns and greens for the trees and grasses, pink for the flowers and accents, and a few blues for the water and sky. When I used my perfect palette on a map, though, and colored every tree, flower, and grass accurately, however, it didn't feel quite as magic. I don't know, maybe I didn't have the right colors, or maybe I didn't have the right mindset, but it just didn't feel as whimsical as working with the pre-selected palettes, no matter how limited or inaccurate they might be. But I did enjoy using the personal palette to color my cape and my hair bow pink. I recommend that if you play Chicory, you do whatever amount of coloring strikes a balance between thoroughness and satisfaction for you. At first, I was overwhelmed. Every map felt like it needed color, or else I was doing it wrong. And there were just so many maps, I felt like I could never get it done. But I learned shortcuts. Holding on the paintbrush and dragging it over treetops instantly filled the tree with color. If I swapped colors and dragged it over the tree trunks, they filled too. So I started filling in the tiny things, then swapping colors, filling in a little bit more, and lastly, filling in the large spaces of walls, ground, or sky by holding the paintbrush down and letting one solid color wash over everything else. About halfway to 3/4 through my run, I found a tool that instantly rotated between the colors available for each map, and it made such quick work of coloring. That brush tip, which is available through a side quest, made coloring both satisfactory and quick, so I could focus on other gameplay elements. Chicory isn't all just visuals and vibes, though. It has a stellar soundtrack by Lena Raine, who also worked on Celeste, Guild Wars 2, and Deltarune. Raine's music gives the sprawling city of dinners its bustling feel. Lends a powerful wintry magic to the peak of Desert Mountain. And makes Grub Caverns feel both alien and welcoming in its weird insect way. The music really stands out in the boss fights, too. There's an urgency and a danger to the music that emphasizes the peril that your little doggy is in. Chapter 2's boss fight, for instance, absolutely bangs. Here's a little clip. The song transforms as the boss does, and I had to pause the game because I was honestly so blown away. I usually don't focus too much on music when I'm playing a game, but Raine's work on Chicory is impossible to ignore. It both meshes perfectly with the environment and stands out as a spectacle. With all its elements combined, visual, audio, and experiential, Chicory reminds me of all the beautiful things in life. Of course, art is beautiful, and so is the natural world that you color in. But so too is the little donut shop that your dad runs. And so is the nerdy little birdie who's your biggest fan, whose enthusiasm is so infectious that maybe you start to believe that you really are something else. What's beautiful too are the moments you share with your family, or the quiet cafe lunches you have with your new friend. What's beautiful is finding little fragments of hope and sharing them with others. That's what you do in Chicory. You find and share beauty as you confront challenges. Through art, you gain abilities that take you to new places where you meet new people with unique problems. As you grow, you better understand yourself and your friends, your challenges and their challenges, gaining understanding not so that you can face some grand evil as a lone god being with ultimate power, but as an individual in a communal network, a part of a greater support system that nourishes and protects itself when difficulties arise. So, my takeaways from Chicory. The art instructor, a one-legged, well-poised crane in the Academy in Potluck, says during one of her many teaching sessions that art is all about expressing emotions. So let's take this chance to look inwards and express ourselves honestly. Chicory provides a welcoming environment for creative and emotional expression and encourages you to carry that into the real world too. In the end, it's not one great person's deeds that change the world, but each individual's actions that can inspire others to do their best. Chicory decentralizes art as much as it appreciates and uplifts it. Art can be enjoyed and made by anyone and everyone. It also democratizes good deeds, just as much as it warns against making yourself a martyr. We can all do a little bit to make things better, but we shouldn't try to do everything. Just do the best that you can when you can do that, and inspire others to do the same. In the end, I would wholeheartedly recommend Chicory to anybody, but particularly to people who are seeking a comfortable evening, a heartwarming tale, and surprising amounts of catharsis. You know that moment I was talking about earlier with Chicory, when you and your sister have a heart-to-heart in a pizza shop? That moment was so earnest, I was really moved. My eyes started welling up. So it got me wondering, what moment in a video game do you feel like got a genuine heartwarming reaction out of you? I'm talking about warm fuzzies, big ol' smile, I'm not crying, you're crying kind of feeling. You can let me know by tweeting at Games in the Glade on Twitter using the GITGasks hashtag. Or, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a comment below the video. That's all I have for you today. There will be more news and reviews every other week, so keep an eye out for updates in your favorite podcast catcher or on YouTube, and follow the show's Twitter account at Games in the Glade for more. This podcast is supported by Friends of the Forest on Patreon, a link for which I will leave in the description. Thanks to Puddles of Infinity for the use of their song Porches and Universes, and thank you to Titsay for the beautiful album art. And even though our time together is coming to an end, you can always find your way back here, my world-worn weary friend. There's a spot here in the clearing, in the quietude and shade, for you to relax a while and listen to Games in the Glade.